I'm Kiara Rosario. We are here in the main studio in Holyoke Media at One Court Plaza in Holyoke. With me today are my fellow Summer Signal youth producers, and we have the honor of interviewing Joshua Garcia, the mayor of Holyoke.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I'm Veronica Rosario, and my question that I have for you is what's it like being the first Latino mayor?
What's it like to be the first Latino mayor? Well, I tell folks all the time that first and foremost, no matter where you live in this city, we're Hoyokers. Who happens to be Latino, and it feels pretty damn good. I think what's incredibly important to understand about this community is that we are a migrant population with folks that come from different cultural backgrounds, and to know that I've been able to become the candidate that the city has entrusted to lead this city of a community that has more Puerto Ricans living here per capita than any other city in the world outside of the island of Puerto Rico. It's pretty humbling.
Hi, I'm Shaina, and my question for you today is, what inspired you to be a mayor?
So I was born and raised here in the city, and since I was a young kid, I've always been an active participant. I've always actively participated in all sorts of youth programs, initiatives, quality of life initiatives, leadership programs. You know, I was involved with the Boys and Girls Club for a very long time, and I worked there all throughout high school and college. I was a peer leader. I did youth commission when I was in high school. So I've, it was always kind of this expectation that was put onto me that this kid is going to be mayor of Holyoke one day. Did I dream about being mayor? Not necessarily. When I graduated college, when I graduated grad school, I landed a job at the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. And that's really where my career in local government kicked off. For 5 years, I was working with municipalities up and down the Pioneer Valley region to assess municipal operations, where communities can achieve cost savings, improve services. And after that, I was town administrator in a small town outside of the city of Westfield called Blandford. And that's where I really got to learn, at Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, it was like you learn best practices. And then as town administrator, I implemented best practices and got a lot of hands-on experience, learned about municipal finance. It wasn't my intention to run for mayor. I really liked going home at the end of the day, spending time with my family. But my wife, who was my number one endorser, made a comment to me saying, hey, I think you being the mayor might be bigger than our family. Which obviously that's crazy. Nothing's bigger than family except God, if you're a religious person at all. But obviously, diving deeper into that conversation, she works for the school district for as long as we've been together. We've been together for 15 years, working with families in our neighborhoods and just knowing who I am, the experience I've built, where my heart is, we're in the business of helping people, my wife and I. It was her idea that inspired me to say, hey, if you being the mayor is going to help more people than what's within our walls at home, then it was a risk that we were willing to take as a family. So the very next day I went and I pulled papers, and the rest is history.
Hello, I am Ryan.
Hey,
and
Ryan.
I wanted to know, what was your education like growing up, and how did you find out about the political system?
So I went through the Holyoke public school system, elementary school at Lawrence School. I went to Lynch Middle School, and then I graduated at Holyoke High School in 2004. And my education experience was one that was great and memorable. No different than other kids' experiences in the school system. In high school, just so you're aware, though, and people who don't know me probably doesn't know this much, but like when I graduated high school, I didn't graduate with a good GPA. I didn't graduate with a GPA that made me eligible to be accepted into any colleges. I was rejected from many colleges I applied for except for two, and that was MCLA and Westfield State University. And the only reason why they accepted me was because they had a program called the Urban Education Program, which allowed kids like me go to a summer program on their campus, take college courses to boost your GPA. And then if you succeed, then you get accepted into the school officially, and you have that urban education network that followed you all throughout your college experience to make sure that your needs were met, that you were getting the tutoring you needed, or whatever the challenges that might be, that they were helping you. And also, even before that, when I was high school, I did Upward Bound in Northfield, Mount Herman, another youth education program for inner city kids from urban communities. It was I wouldn't necessarily say my dream, but when you grow up in a poor neighborhood, your vision sometimes is limited to what you can achieve. And so my idea was to just go to the military. My mother was a vivid advocate against that idea. And that's when I got introduced to the Upward Bound program, and they put me in a whole different trajectory. But my experiences in school growing up, I mean, I had great experience academically. I've always, been a smart kid. I just wasn't a good test taker. And, taking the SATs and taking finals and things like that kept my grades very low, but if it wasn't for organizations and programs and local leadership in this community looking out for the interest of kids growing up in urban environments, I don't know where I would be. What introduced me to local government, the first time I got introduced to it was when I was on the youth commission. It's kids from Holyoke coming together, meeting regularly to talk about how to advocate for our youth population in the city. And you got to meet with the mayor and city councilors and learn how the system works. Again, it wasn't what inspired me to run for mayor, but it was my first exposure to the local government system. Thanks for the question, man.
Hi, my name is Hery, and I was asked the question, what is the sum of responsibilities of becoming a mayor?
What is some of the responsibilities?
Like, to become a mayor.
To get to being a mayor?
Yeah.
Well, so that's a great question, because a lot of folks running for any office, there's many people in our community that think that you have to have a certain level of background or experience, and that's not necessarily the case when it comes to elected positions. To run for mayor, you just have to be 18 years old and a registered voter here in the community you live in. Now, your experiences and your background, the people you're convincing to vote is the public that are eligible to vote. And people vote for all sorts of reasons that are important to them. You might have some people that'll only vote for people that have actual experience. You got other people that might vote because you represent them demographically. You got people who might run for office or run for mayor that have no children. And when you're knocking on the door of a single mother with 3 kids and you're looking for her vote, and she's trying to figure out how to put food on the table, and she's trying to, she doesn't feel safe in her neighborhood, or not having a great experience with the school district, let's say, and you're a candidate running for mayor or city council with no children, how do you relate and connect to that person? So when you're diverting money, resources, or making laws how are you going to connect with their values and their experience? You know what I mean? So to a lot of people, that's important. So when you're running for office, there's no real credentials, but, your job is to convince the voters that you're the person to lead the city. And once, you get the majority of the votes of the city, that gets you, and this is a condensed version of a really complicated process. But you get the majority votes of the population of eligible voters, then, rest is history. You become mayor and you run the city.
Again, I'm Kiara.
Kiara,
Yeah.
what's going on?
During your term, how positive of an impact do you think the changes to the city have been?
Honestly, there's what I hear and there's how I feel. The feedback I get from people from every corner, no matter where I go, is overwhelmingly positive, and I'm humbled by that. You get, I bump into people. Hey, Mayor, I want to tell you how much of a great job you're doing, and I appreciate this, or whatever the positive feedback is. Then there's how I feel, and I'm grateful for that positive feedback. I feel like there's so much work to do. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough. I listen to people's stories, the challenges. I like to keep my finger on the pulse of where just naturally, just the kind of person that I am. I like to know what's not working more than I like to pay attention to the positive things, although we should pay attention to the positive things because, there's a lot of good things we need to celebrate. But also as the mayor, as the person that's working toward improving the quality of life of people, I keep my finger on the pulse on where things are not good so that I can do what I can to influence and make things just a little bit better than what they were. And so I pay attention to that, and I see the families, I see whatever the subject area issue is. I take it very personal. It bothers me. It bothers me that not every kid in every corner of our city doesn't get to live in arguably I say all our neighborhoods are decent, but some neighborhoods have a little more challenges than others. And so not every kid gets to live in the perfect neighborhood. That bothers me. There are some playgrounds that are not in the best condition as other playgrounds. That bothers me. There are some schools that are treated a little better than other schools. That bothers me. So when I look at things like that, there are some families that live in our city that don't have any other choice but to deal with those issues. My answer to your question is sometimes I feel like I'm not doing the best job. So we celebrate our achievements, but we can never, ever be complacent and lose sight of where the gaps are, because it's those gaps, it's people's lives are being impacted one way or another. And our role in government is not necessarily to get in the way of people's lives. We want you to live your lives and not worry about what's happening on the back end so that you can live healthy lives. But there's other things that we have influence and control over. If I can help make the scenario better, then that's where I want to focus and pay attention and be better at. Did I answer your question? If I ramble too much, you got to let me know, because at the end of the day, as much as I can't stand politics, I am a politician. So
You answered my question. Yeah.
I'm Jacob, and my question for you is, what can you not do as a mayor?
what can I not do? So there are a lot of there's a lot of laws around ethics that, and it's not just as mayor, this is just public officials in general, that you would think should be fine, but it's ethically against the law, ethics laws. Like, for example, and I think the most basic example people use all the time because it's easy to explain. I'm the mayor of a city, and a particular private business owner has a contract in the town or is looking to do business in town, right? That requires support from the mayor or the city council or whatever as public officials. And the private investor has tickets to go see Bad Bunny, right? And no public official can accept anything more than a value of $49.99, so more than $50 in a given calendar year. And Bad Bunny tickets are not $50 or they're not $20. So if I accept those tickets to go see Bad Bunny with my wife or friends, that is against the ethics laws, and you can get jammed up. It's things like that. Like, no big deal. All right, it's a gift, but Bad Bunny, it's no big deal. It's Bad Bunny. Who doesn't want to go see Bad Bunny? But it's against laws, and it's little things like that that sometimes officials get caught up in. So other than that, I get to live my life like any other normal person. I still go out. I venture downtown. All sorts of daily activities, whether if it's events, going to a restaurant in the public. I also support local businesses, the nightlife that we have here. So sometimes I go to the local clubs or bars that we have here to show face, connect with the public, support the business owners. So this, I don't have security. There's no Secret Service or anything like that. I get asked that sometimes, like, do you have the Secret Service outside? There's people that believe that. No, this is my town. I feel safe here. I feel the safest here, actually, than anywhere else. Esto es mi pueblo. I know every person in every corner, and I live my life no different than I did before I was the mayor. This past weekend was Fiesta Patronales. I hung right there in the middle like everybody else watching the shows. So but there are like things that ethically that you can't do that can really get you jammed up with laws and get you in trouble. And then obviously anything that's against the law, we can't do. So.
My name's Cameron, and I wanted to know if you plan to run for any higher placements in the government, and if so, how far do you want to go?
I don't know. It was a stretch for me to even decide to run for mayor because I liked my job in local government management as town manager. My interest was to stay in city management. There's municipalities across the Commonwealth that have a different form of government than we do, where they have their city manager is not elected mayor. It's an appointed administrator or manager. So that was my career track. But right now, my heart's here. I have no interest in the legislative making law side, like Congress, Senate, state rep, state senator. I don't have the patience for making laws and going to those kind of meetings. My role is mainly in the implementation executive side. I don't have to campaign again until another 2 years. It's a 4-year term. I can tell you right now that I do intend to run again for mayor, but a lot can change in 2 years. You guys are happy right now. 6 months later, I might make a really bad decision that might get all of you upset. And you're telling your parents, don't vote for that guy. So I don't know what the future has for me. I would love to keep managing the services of this city for as long as the public wants me to. But as far as like higher office for Senate and Congress, that's not I've never been interested in that world, and especially for a career. So, if it's not continuing to be the mayor here, I'm probably gonna go to put in my applications for other communities that are looking for an administrator manager. There has been some flirting going on with some people wondering if whether or not I'd consider running for governor, which never in a billion years I thought that that's something I'd be doing. I don't know. I have a hard time keeping my head around Holyoke issues. I can't imagine the whole state of Massachusetts. But hey, anything's possible. So, you got a question?
Hello, my name is Jai.
What's your name?
Jai.
Jai.
But my real name is Jaizeya.
Excuse me.
But I have it short for Jai because people like to pronounce it wrong. And my question is, what did you want to do before you became mayor?
What I want to do before I became mayor. So I explained earlier that my career was town administrator in Blandford. And my idea was to do that for about 5 years, and then go into another community. So that was my career track. Right now, my career track is on hold because I'm here as an elected official. I wouldn't necessarily call being a mayor a career. I think it's a civic responsibility. We're here to protect the interest of the stakeholders of this corporation, this municipality that makes Holyoke, to manage the services on their behalf, and it's an elected role, and it's an opportunity of a lifetime, especially of the city that took care of me, that I know and love. Born and raised here, grew up in South Holyoke. So, again, if I wasn't the mayor right now, or if I chose not to run for mayor at all and continued on my career track, that's what I'd be doing. And, I work a lot of nights and a lot of weekends. I'd be home right now, right after, you know what I mean? Like, people ask me all the time, like, what is it about the job that is the hardest? And everything's hard. But everything that can be happening at City Hall and in the city, no problem. That's part of government's the job. People, I thrive. Personalities, perspectives, I don't care how different you are. I can work with it. That doesn't bother me. But it's the amount of hours that you have to put in. That's the part that's challenging. Because I do have twins, 2 11-year-olds. I'm a family man. And, it breaks my heart when I can't make it home on time for dinner or before the kids go to bed, or the kids have a game or a show. My daughter dances and does recitals, and I can't make it because there's something over here. Or, it pulls my heartstrings pretty hard. So that's the I would say probably the most challenging part of being the mayor.
My name is Hery, once again. Is it overwhelming trying to keep the city in check?
Not necessarily. Yeah, yes and no. There's a lot. Think of this analogy. You open up a fire hydrant and you put your face in front of it. That's how it feels. Just a lot of things coming at you. And that could be overwhelming if you're not prepared, you don't have a plan, you don't have any strategies. That can be very overwhelming. But I have this motto that I stand by, personally and professionally, and even at City Hall as I mold the departments to keep up with the important services. You get what you plan for. I live by that every single day. Whatever outcome that happens in your life, like, you get what you plan for. So a lot of the issues that come my way, because we have a good ground game on how to respond, we have good communication game and how we share information to the public, to the city council, to the different stakeholders, to tackle an issue that might be coming my way that can be overwhelming if you're not prepared. That makes me feel at ease, like, okay, we're doing it. Things are moving. We're doing our jobs. What can be overwhelming is surprises, right? When something happens that you have no plan for it and you just gotta have to take it with a grain of salt, figure it out and move forward, that can be overwhelming. So it's it depends.
Since growing up in South Holyoke, where now for me, South Holyoke is kind of like bad but good, because like I grew up around there, and I want to know what changed your mind and changed your career growing up, like what you want to do from growing up to growing, like what are you doing now?
Hey, listen, when I was growing up in South Holyoke, you didn't think bad. Like, the things were around you was it. We were just neighborhood kids. We played. I had a lot of fun growing up in the neighborhood. And obviously, as you get older, you pay attention more as you get more responsibilities. And then you have kids. And then you pay attention more. And then you're like, whoa, wait a minute. This isn't as good as, I remembered when I was a kid. The challenges were always there. It's just you were just busy being a kid. And I had a very involved, and this is important too, and this is not to say that parents do not care. I had a very involved mother, who made sure that I grew up respectful and with good values, and she visited the school and met with the teachers, and, she held me accountable when accountability is important. I had parents that I had a mother that really made sure that, that I did what I can to be a good person, period, no matter what it is that I decided to do. And then on top of that, we had a youth programs and a lot of good neighborhood leaders, role models that were very involved in the community. Basketball tournaments, block parties, youth programs, just keeping you out of that element. Now, were there things that I got involved with in the neighborhood that could have made my life very different? Absolutely. In a lot of cases, sometimes I could tell you that, some of it might have been lucky, or either that or I just have an angel watching over me. And there's situations where people in our neighborhood deal with that, where they got involved in a circumstance where they might have dodged a bullet, right? And, could have gone down a very different path if the circumstances were different. So I had some encounters like that where I just was lucky. I think throughout the years, as I build experience and I learn and I grow, you evaluate the situation and you think about what you could have done different, and you just learn from it and you make sure you don't do it again. I've always kind of understood that. You do mistakes, that's fine, and you're probably going to feel the consequence of that mistake one way or another. But it isn't the end of the world. You take that, you learn from it, and you move forward. You keep moving forward. Now, if you're making the same mistake over and over again, we gotta bring you in, man. We gotta find out what's going on. But everybody learns differently in their own pace. There was a lot of friends that I grew up with that carved very different lives. Some others that carved very different lives and figured it out much later on, where, they had maybe in their 30s now turning their lives around versus earlier on. So it's, but this is Holyoke. Our community is a place of, and I have to remind people this all the time, in order to, keep people focused in who we are and what we represent. understand that this is a place of hope and opportunity for people that are experiencing some sort of challenge in their lives. It is not a perfect situation, but there's opportunity here to dig yourselves out of whatever might be going on. And in that path, you make your choices, and the hope is that you make positive ones and you move up the ladder and you decide to stay in Holyoke and grow your families here and live here and own a home here or rent your apartment here or whatever the case might be. But no matter where you choose to live your lives, at the end of the day, this is the city that helped you and helped shape you and made you. I tell people all the time, like, a kid graduated from Northampton is nowhere near prepared any kid graduating from the city of Holyoke. Because you've graduated here, you're a lot more compassionate. You know how to deal with issues around homelessness and opioid addictions. In some cases, you got friends probably. Maybe your neighbor is dealing with a challenge. And so, or maybe even in your own home with your parents, there's kids living in so many different circumstances. You've seen things and experienced things that other kids never did. And that's taught you how to, like, be more compassionate, more vigilant, and help shape your own decisions and what not to do. You know what I mean? So, I'd say the city of Holyoke here definitely has shaped me, and I chose to not leave when I first met my now wife, then girlfriend. She came from Astoria, New York. We could have moved anywhere we wanted. It's like, no, we're staying here in the city of Holyoke. When the twins were born, we could have out-of-district them, put them in some private schools, put them in another district, another city. No, they're going to the Holyoke public schools. We were in IKEA in New Haven, New York, Connecticut, which is about an hour and a half away, when my wife's water broke. And I was like, there's no way my kids are going to be born in Connecticut. We're going to Holyoke. So I bleed the city. I love my community so much, to the point where, like, that's why when I made the comment earlier, I take it personal when something is going on. And that's not like, I won't sleep until we can do what we can to get to the bottom line of the problem and solve it already. And some of it is just so deep that it's out of my control. But we do little things here and there to alleviate and kind of help make things just a little better. So I think I ventured off from your question, but hopefully I gave you a little bit more than just the answer.
Now that we've all asked you some questions, do you have any questions for us?
Well, what are some of your aspirations and dreams, if I might ask, some goals that you might have? And I would say it's okay if you haven't thought that far, because I could tell you when I was in high school and even when I was in college, I had no idea what I was going to do. So yeah.
I think personally for me, my goal right now is just to get to college and complete at least 4 years, maybe 2.
That's a good goal.
Yeah, it's kind of the same for me. Hopefully I can get my bachelor's and pursue my master's.
Another good goal. What do we want to study?
Forensic science.
Forensic science.
Not sure right now.
And that's all right.
I'm hoping to go to college too. Trying to become a mechanical engineer.
Mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right.
I wanna go to. My goal is to be higher in life. To go to, like, the NFL to play football or the NBA. Right now, my goal is to take my mom out from where she is right now, because my stepdad passed away not last month, and he was there all my games, basketball, football. So I'm trying to take that energy, like the bad energy, help keep me pushing to, like, play the sports that I am. doing to try to get my mom out from the problem she is right now. So to go to college and play sports.
I love that, man. Thank you for sharing. You can do it too.
Thank you.
Me personally, I have a few backup plans. If I don't get into one, I got a few other ones. I want to either become a singer, an actor, editor, a songwriter, or a lyric composer because I'm pretty good at those I'm pretty good at those mainly. I just want to go to college to study it more. And my main goal, I would say, is to change the world for the better with my music.
I love it. Very beautiful. And you can do it. All of you can.
My goal is to be an actor.
An actor. Excellent. Made in Holyoke. Each one of you.
My goal would have to be probably just get through high school, graduate, get a good GPA, and hopefully graduate college with a major in music production.
Excellent.
My goal is to study computer science.
Good goals. I could tell you, you guys, I've seen enough where anything is possible and you can do it. And even if it doesn't go as you thought or planned, just keep moving forward. And always remember, no matter what the outcome is or where you go or where you end up or where you move, the city of Holyoke is where it started. And it'll always be here for you. If there's anything that I can do to support, always feel free to reach out to the office, the people's office, your office. Your parents are paying for it. So, but thank you so much for having me. Again, the office is very accessible. And, feel free to stop in and say hi anytime. If you have any other questions or anything we can help with, definitely let us know. If there's any other questions.
No, that's really all we have. Thank you again so much for coming in. It's really been great for us all to interview you here.
Always a pleasure.